I'm Sandra, aka Mommy G. Welcome to my YouTube channel once again. Today I'll be talking about the practical ways I adopted to earn myself a first class degree in my undergraduate studies. So I studied in Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Anambra State, Great Unizik. I gained admission in 2012 and I graduated in 2016 with a cumulative grade point average of 4.64. Now, I'm just going to be sharing practical tips. I hope this helps one or two persons. So first things first, when I gained admission into the university 10 years ago or more than so, the intention initially wasn't to graduate with the first class. The intention was just, okay, I want to make A's in all my courses. Then at the end of the day, it cumulates to already a first class degree. So it was not I had the intention of making of graduate with a first class, because I mean, who even knew what was first class, second class, or two, or second class low one, or as the case may be at that time. But first, the first influence I had was my cousin, who was studying ICH at that moment. Her name is Ogochukwu. So she was already in first class as at then, and she made a statement to me then that stuck deeply into my brain. She said that she made the decision that she doesn't ask questions in exam hall and she doesn't reply anybody in exam hall. So me immediately, because I was already a covenant baby then, I made a promise to God that I was not going to ask and I was not going to talk during examination. That was just my promise to God, so that God will help me. In my year one, okay, year one was more of GS courses, as the case may be. Now, that decision not to act and not to answer during the exam hall came with its own ups and downs. In year one, practical things I did to earn myself a first class, even at year one. Year one was more of GS courses, just as I mentioned earlier. So at the beginning of every semester, I have a 40 or 60 leaves notebook, as the case may be, depending on the volume of each course, where I summarize every course, be it theory, be it pure calculations. At least each calculation course has definition. So I will always summarize all my courses. So I summarize all my courses. Then we have maybe 14 weeks in each semester. Before fourth week, I've already done all my summaries. I summarize my course and I start reading my summary notes in addition to attending lectures and reading past questions. So that was it basically for my year one. At the end of year one, I was in a cumulative grade point average of 4.53 for year one only. Now, 200 level came with its own challenges too, because we had borrowed courses from economics department, we had borrowed courses from faculty of law. But one strength I had when it comes to academics is that my strength is in theory courses. I don't feel theory courses. I can't even get it a B. I always score an A in all theory courses. But I had a bit of weakness in calculation courses, so I had to put in extra effort to pass calculation courses. But of course, I'm always ready for it. I had a lot of textbooks reading at the same time. Then one other thing that also assisted me when it comes to ensuring that I graduated with the first class was I attended tutorial all through my years in university. I think mostly starting from year two, when it was core accounting courses we are now doing. Take for example, courses like intermediate accounting, I never liked that course. So I had to go for tutorials back to back. And tutorials at that moment, even those that were not within the school, I attended just to ensure that I got a minimum of 70. At least the person who scored 70 and some person who scored 90 are still on the same level of A. But as a student then, my best course was always tax. Tax was a very straightforward course. I could literally even get it 100 over 100 when it comes to tax. I won't even make any mistake. So attending tutorial was second point I also made. Then remember, I said the first point was always making summaries at the beginning of every academic section. Part of making summaries is that I have to deprive myself of going home during some of the holidays. I just stayed back in the hostel. Then secondly now is attending tutorial classes. It actually helps because the time it takes you to understand, it's like someone is already giving, the other person has already gone through the stress of understanding that course, then just pouring it out to each individual. So my 200 level, I had borrowed courses, and 200 level was one or another year I made a very high CGPA. I think at the end of my 200 level, I had a CGPA of 4.7 for only 200 level alone. Now, in 300 level, we had more 3 credit load courses. We had more borrowed courses like business statistics, business analysis, production management. Okay, I think we did not borrow law in 300, I can't really remember. But those were high 3 credit load courses that if you are getting a B or a C, you're already going down. Now, let me also tell you one of the challenges I also encountered, because it wasn't easy making the decision not to ask in an exam hall. In 300 level, I did business analysis, and it was a theory courses, and I was so sure that I could even score 98. Even if you want to fail me, when you give me 98, or maybe just -2, you can't get 100 over 100. This is a theory course. Like my script, in terms of dotting of I and crossing of T's, should be used to mark other scripts, because I wrote so well in it. It's a theory course, but because the lecturer at that moment felt that because she was not physically present during the day of that examination, she handed it over to her colleagues to invigilate, and she heard that people copied in the examination hall. So she felt if you have written so well, you literally brought in your textbook to write the exam. And I wrote so well. But at the end of the day, when the result came out, I scored a C. And I was literally crying. I can never forget. I called my dad crying that, oh, she gave me a C. But there was nothing I could do at that moment. And it dragged my CGPA so low that at the end of year 3, I was scoring a 4.4. So I had 4.5, 4.7, 4.4. I think in my final year was the best. So after I calculated all my cumulative grade point average from year 1 to year 3, and it was in first class, in final year, I now made the decision to finish what I'd already started. That was the point when I was like, oh, I'm already there. There's no point going back to a 2-1. So I put in the effort. No traveling, no social activities. I'm either reading, praying, sleeping, or eating. Those are the only 4 activities I do. So I deprive myself, not because I was not a sociable person, but I just had to do my best and leave the rest for God. That was just my principle. So in my final year, pure accounting courses, I did so well. And in final year, I made a grade point average of 5.0. So it boosted my CGPA so much that at the end of my 4 years in university, I graduated with a cumulative grade point average of 4.64 at undergraduate studies. So I've made a lot of points. Let me just reiterate. Number one, of course, you have to put God first, because there are some people that read even better than I did, that you are not opportune to graduate that well. And some people read so well, when they go into the examination hall, there are a lot of factors that maybe they can't even remember, both spiritually and mentally, a lot of things, emotionally, as the case may be. So it is only the grace of God that guarantees one success. Now, first, God. Second, create your summary notes. I always emphasize on this in every of my videos, especially all my icon videos. Summary notes are very key. Even if it's calculation courses, I have summary notes for them, because I think there are definitions in it. If a lecturer wants to set questions on in calculation, maybe the first section will be pure theory, second section will be calculation. At the end of the day, I can get all my mark in theory section. The calculation will just be an added advantage. Third, attend tutorial if need be. The essence of tutorial is that the time it takes you, for example, 300 level, you do group accounts. The time you take to study, teach yourself group account or teach IFRS, which is very self-explanatory. Anyways, someone else has already thought of it and is giving you his or her own template on how you can just pass it one way. So it saves you a lot of stress. Then number four, if you're someone who you need to what they call this word, you need to sacrifice, deprive yourself from some pleasure in order to achieve something. I've forgotten the particular word for it. I deprive myself of social activities because I wanted something. I wanted to graduate well, because at the end of the day, it's not like everybody who come into university came from different backgrounds. So people already have a job waiting for them there, but me, I had to work my way through it all. So if you have to deprive yourself of what you need to deprive yourself of, you deprive yourself for the greater goal. After I graduated, I enjoyed myself until I went for NYSC and I had to deprive myself again because I was writing my econ at that particular point in time. So God, create your summary notes, read, study. I studied literally everywhere in university. There's no place I've not studied. Faculty of Engineering, Faculty of Environmental Sciences, inside library, outside library, Faculty of Management Sciences, law, education. Everywhere I've studied at one point or the other in every aspect of that university. Then attend tutorial classes, read, eat, eat well, sleep, and leave the rest for God to do for you. So I hope this video have been able to encourage one or two persons to pursue. If your aim is really to graduate well, be it first class or best graduating, please push for it. There's a lot of benefit to it, even though it also have its own downside, so to say. So I hope you enjoyed the video and it was useful. I'm going to shoot another video on how I did same in my master level. Please, if you are doubting my grade point in my BSc, wait until you hear my MSc. 4